Hit it, Phil.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Can it be the breeze that fills the trees with rare and magic perfume? Oh, no, it isn't the breeze. It's Jackson time. La-da-da-da.
Well, Joel again. This is Buck Benny speaking. I am joined today by Hope Sears, making one of her first appearances with us. Hope, it's wonderful to have you. And we have Zach Eastman. Hey, Zach.
Hello.
And we have John Henderson. Hey, John.
Hello.
And we have the always wonderful Kathy Fuller-Seeley.
Hello again.
Kathy. So this episode we're presenting is the first surviving episode in circulation or whatever. Because just to remind everybody, as far as we can tell, every episode of the Jack Benny TV show survives somewhere. Not necessarily places that are easy for us to get to them, but it's nice to know that they're stored away somewhere, and hopefully eventually they'll let the public see them.
Unlike the radio show.
Yes, a radio show does have truly missing episodes as far as we can tell. We hope somebody has somewhere and they will eventually turn up. But yeah, the early seasons especially, we don't have much chance of them. It would be lovely if somebody would collect those early scripts and get them out so we can actually read them. But of course, that probably will never. Oh, wait.
Guys,
Kathy,
we need a time machine.
Some of the very earliest of the scripts. Kathy, so far you brought us the first 50-ish scripts, right? In the first two books.
Well, in 1932, he was on twice a week. Yeah. So we've gotten through 50 scripts, which actually equaled about 26 weeks. So
wow. How many?
We're heading. Yeah.
How many in total from that era?
Canada Dry lasts for 13 more weeks. So last 26 episodes of that series are what I'm working on right now, and it's just great fun to go back and look at trade sources and newspaper sources that I didn't have access to. Even before when I was writing my book,
right?
And it's just fun to see the kerfuffle grow. And numerous radio editors in various parts of the country decided to stir the pot and take sides. So there's Team Sid Silvers. Canada Dry, the obnoxious sponsor and obnoxious ad agency, had said to Jack and Mary and Harry Kahn, "We don't like your comedy. We think it's dull and stupid. So we're going to insist. We're going to hire this other writer-performer, Sid Silvers, and we're going to enforce that you have a new narrative. You're a Broadway producer putting on a review, and he's going to be your annoying sidekick." Well, this makes Mary Livingston go, "What? That's my role." She's really asserting herself. And so this 13-week segment starts out with these big changes, and they've also changed networks to CBS and different days and times. So how Jack Benny's fans that were there could ever find him again is fascinating. But as I said, the newspaper reporters across the country start to pick sides, and they're either Team Sid Silvers or Team Jack Benny, and they are giving gossip and rumors about, Mary's insisting Sid be fired. Oh, Sid's going behind Jack's back, and knowing that Jack's going to get canceled is trying to get the show. And they both show up at the same New York restaurant, and one Brooklyn reporter is going, "What happened?" Inquiring minds are watching for, are they going to throw potato rolls at each other? So it's just
this silly. One is such a rich vein for you to talk about. Does your intro end up being longer in this book than in the previous book?
Oh, yes. So it turns out from the original book, this tumultuous 13 weeks was covered in about a page and a half. And now I've got more. So for those of us who are obsessed and want to really know what happened.
Oh, yeah.
I think
it sounds like you could write a whole book about this, not even including the scripts, just the information.
Kathy, there's always been talk about, like, why write a book about Jack Benny? He was too nice a man. I think you just literally found the Jack Benny biopic we want to watch, which is this.
Well, there you go.
This is a mini series, like, yeah. Sorry, I was going to say it's like it's like Scandal. It's like we need or like that very bad late night wars made for TV movie they did about Leno versus Letterman. Like, we need something like that, but taken seriously for HBO. Just get Jack on HBO.
Is this backwards to you guys?
No,
No,
it's
it's
forward.
frontwards.
Okay,
Hope,
it's
what were
backwards
you
for
gonna
me,
say?
so I'm assuming it's forward for you. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I
I will
was gonna-
say this. I just
Hope?
wanted to plug Kathy's book for a second, especially this one. This is her second volume of, I believe, right? Yeah, this is the second one.
Yeah.
And the second one right now, just to tell you, at least last I checked, last week, the hardback is always like $7 or $8 more than the paperback. But right now, for some reason, Amazon has the hardback as being like $5 cheaper than the paperback. So I would go out and get the hardback. The hardback has, when you get the hardbacks of these books, the paper is just a more deluxe, softer paper, and having the hardback is just so nice. And so I would highly recommend these books. And if I can show it so you can see it. So yeah, so they're out there on. She's got 2 of them. The third one coming out soon, at some point. And anyway,
I need to get
a great read. And the thing is, if you're a Benny fan, honestly, when you read these things, you can't help but hear Jack's voice as you're reading it. And it's almost like because sometimes I will read one and I'll think, did I hear that episode? Oh no, that's one I read. So, and I can't, after a while, you can't remember which ones you've read and which ones you've listened to, because your brain sort of fills in that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway,
Kathy, I was just gonna say, you've answered a question that I didn't realize that I had, because I always forget it, is that sometimes Jack is sometimes just randomly portrayed as like a Broadway gossip columnist, and
Right.
I never understood where that came from, because I was like, I'm sure that existed, but I was like, I'm not sure where that comes in for Jack. So did he end up actually kind of doing that for a while then?
They did it for about 5 episodes, and then
Okay.
Jack Mary and Harry Kahn had a big fight. They went in and confronted the sponsor and the ad agency, and they said, "Stop it, quit this, or we'll walk."
But
And
it's
so
5
agency-
episodes.
Yeah,
It's 5
5
episodes, and that's all it takes for him to, like, I've seen like maybe I've seen like some magazine and like some like
Sure.
the
Well,
and
they
the
did-
movie like the
Right.
the
Broadway Melody of 36. It's a popular. It's
Right.
a
And so
popular
that's
and
where
easy
that
role
came
to put
from?
him in. Well, it's connected. It's connected.
Okay.
Um,
But it only
but
takes
they-
5 episodes to build up that separate picture of him, which is so interesting.
There you go. There you go. But Canada Dry had the last laugh, they thought, because they said, okay, we'll fire Sid Silvers. We'll let you have your original format back, but we're not going to renew you. So they knew by December 20th, I've just learned, they found out on December 20th that they were being canceled on January 26th. And so I want to see what kind of revenge episodes are they going to be doing this last month. So
that will be interesting. Well, I like it when you talk about the upcoming book. It's so interesting, but I also hate it because I have to wait and I want to read it now. But it's okay. It's coming out hopefully sometime this spring, so we can read it in spring and summer. So that'll be wonderful. I can't wait for it. Anyway, let's talk about this week's episode. This is the jam session episode where it's jammed with guest stars for sure, and it's a fun little interesting episode. I find the last bit of it to be a little bit of a one note or one gag thing, but it's a good gag. It's just played over maybe a few too many times, and they could have played around with a few of the other Benny pieces to do this. I don't know, but anyway, we'll go around and find out what people thought of this episode. So let's start with Hope. What are your thoughts on the jam session episode, and is it one of your, do you really like this one, or is it one that you don't really think much of? Or
Out of all of them I've seen, this one held my attention the least, because it's just, I feel like it's the same gag over and over of the cheap, like
everything's a vending machine.
Everything's a vending machine, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Everything's a vending machine. It's that gag over and over, and then at the end, it's the it's the kind of like who do you like more, basically, gag, which had already been done on the show before, and so it held my attention so little that I'm like, I'm looking at these guest stars and I'm like, these are great guest stars, but like they're not even holding my attention because it's the same gag.
Exactly. I'm going, if you would have written an episode featuring Kirk Douglas as your main person, and it would have been written all about Jack coming to Kirk's house to talk him into coming on the show, which is a standard thing that he does a lot, it would have held up a lot better than this, in my opinion. Or certainly Fred MacMurray is so great. I love Fred MacMurray, and it would have been so much fun to play him up. He, even with the little that he has to do here, he takes on kind of a persona and brings it out as kind of this, well, yeah, I should be featured more than this, and once that sort of thing, and it's just yeah, exactly. It's just I'm leaving. Oh, I can't have my solo back. Well, then I'll stay. It's like, it's just kind of cute, but they could have played with that so much more if he'd been the main person. I think they almost, by having this many people that he's trying to feature all of them a little bit, it kind of takes away from the whole thing, especially since he gives them all the same joke. It would be like, it's like, come on, please. Or even if they would have not had any of the jokes, you'd have other things that they're doing, and just have the one where with Kirk Douglas, where he's like, no, I think I weigh this much. I don't think it's changed. And then he goes and does the scale one. I think I would have just left that one, and it would have made it have more impact. But it's so watered down by that point. As soon as they talk about the scale, it's going to be a pay scale, isn't it? And there it is. And I guess there's two jokes. One is everything's a vending machine. The second joke is they're all hidden in different ways, and where's it gonna pop out of? Where is this? But that's pretty weak. So anyway, let's go to Zach and get his thoughts on this.
I'm in the similar vein with Hope. I went back to this after Kirk passed away, and I had fun with it, but rewatching it for here, I kind of realized what jokes I like about Jack versus others. And I don't know how else to describe this other than I've noticed from my own end, and I could be way off, but I've noticed that when the cheap jokes are sprinkled, that's when they're most effective. When you are shoving them into the whole back section and not finding anything else other than Bye Bye Blues, I'm a big fan of repeating a joke. Like the Coen brothers will do this. You repeat a joke 3 times, it's funny. Like, or you say the same phrase 3 times, it's funny. Like damn, we're in a tight spot, and oh brother art thou is funny. The more George Clooney says it, the more they're doing this cheap joke, the more I'm just in awe of production design and less with the comedy. Like from a production design standpoint and the set, I'm like, that's cool. I would love to be there when they're constructing this vending machine popping out of nowhere. But from a comedy standpoint, I'm just kind of like, that's
right.
Yeah, that's what everybody thinks of Jack. And like the radio shows, like when we listen to the radio shows in the 40s, they're not like Morrow and Boulogne aren't berating us with cheap jokes. It is one of many elements. There's also vanity. There's also the would-be Lothario. And I feel like the best Benny gags end up being when it's a combination of all those elements instead of just one versus the other. Like the Marilyn Monroe episode has a similar thing where I love it, but it is mostly Jack thinking he's a sex symbol that could have a shot with Marilyn Monroe. Right. So I do think that this suffers from an imbalance.
But I think cute. Marilyn in that case brings it up to another level with her performance as part of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason that
other thing I want to point out about that concept, Zach, is there's a difference between a repeated joke and a running joke. And the running joke, I love running jokes. And they do some running jokes in here where one of them will pick up on something the other one had said. So those work. But the repeated jokes or the cheap jokes don't work very well.
Yeah, no, it's just we're just getting the same thing over and over again. And It's like hearing the "Where's the beef" catchphrase 15 times in one day. It's like I get it. I
Yeah.
totally get it.
And I think Hope had something to say on this. Hope, what do
No, yeah, I just wanted to like say I think it's a bad sign when I start like actually getting into reality, because when the scale came out, I thought that clock wouldn't work if there was actually a scale in it. And I was like, that's a bad sign. I'm like worried about the clock more than I am this joke.
The benefit I find from it ultimately is that it is interesting to watch all those different guest stars in one room. Like,
Yes.
you're not going to see Fred MacMurray and Kirk Douglas and all those guys hanging out in the same room necessarily all the time.
And I think
So
they're
cute.
having fun together, and that helps us to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it with them instead of enjoy the entertainment they're presenting to us. Get in the moment with them like you're in the room, and then it makes it better.
And this isn't like our last week's discussion with Road to Nairobi, where like you have like super awkward issues with the episode. Like the episode's completely competent and fine.
Yeah,
it's just there. Like it's nice to have. There's not every episode of Seinfeld's great, you know, but you enjoy it nonetheless, or Friends, or whatever you show.
This is one of those episodes, though. If we didn't have it, if it was one of the ones locked away, and you read who was in it and everything, you'd be like, oh, I want that episode to be one of the ones that we find, one of the lost episodes that we get shared, because that sounds like it's going to be great. And
this is the opposite of the Dick Van. This is the opposite of the Dick Van Dyke
guide for this episode would sound awesome, but then you'd watch it and be like, I can't imagine not be let down once you hear, oh, Fred MacMurray's in this and Kirk Douglas is in it. Oh my gosh, what is this going to be like? And
this is the opposite of the Dick Van Dyke episode, where you hear about that and you do get a reward for your anticipation of it.
Right.
Whereas this one, I mean, I agree. I think it's fine. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. It's a fine episode. I've watched it a couple times before. I don't go back to it as often as I do the Bogart episode or other episodes, or the 4 a.m. show. You know, like those are fun for me.
Let's go over to Kathy and get her thoughts on it. Kathy.
Well, I'll go last. I want to hear from John first. So,
okay, John. We will go to John. And John, and I was hope maybe you found some obscure something in here, but I have no idea. So go ahead, John.
Oh, the only reference in this one that
there wasn't a lot, right? And so
I would say the Horn Blows at Midnight. Jack Benny's last movie. Not everybody would know that he did a movie, and it was considered a flop, and it was called The Horn Blows at Midnight. So if you know that going into it, then you'll get the one reference joke in this episode. But I gotta say, not every episode of Jack Benny is a winner, but this one is a winner. I love this episode, and you guys can have your opinion, but I don't care. I thought it was so fun. I loved seeing all the celebrities, even though I didn't know them all. Like, I guess Dan Dailey must be a dancer. I didn't know who he was. I've heard of Tony Martin. Is he a singer?
I think so.
He's in the big store with the Marx Brothers, John.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dick Powell, I know from Richard Diamond, Private Detective, and he's in a movie, and he plays Sam Spade. Murder My Sweet. I just got that for Christmas. So it was fun to see Dick Powell in person rather than just a voice on the radio. He didn't get a great, huge part.
He's in
then you get Fred MacMurray in there, who, like you said, Buck, You
were saying he's in what, Zach?
I was gonna say Kirk Douglas and Powell are in The Bad and the Beautiful together. So if you want to find them in another room together, that's where you're gonna go. Sorry, the reception cut off for you there, bud. Sorry.
Yeah. And then go ahead, John. You can finish up.
I was just gonna say Fred MacMurray is so charismatic and yet casual, where he steals the show. He's fun to watch, and yet he's not like in your face. So I love Fred MacMurray, and in this episode he really shines. And then you get Kirk Douglas in there, who's like the biggest movie star you can think of, and I think he's nailing it. His banjo stuff is hilarious. His back and forth, when he starts playing and he's playing a different song and they stop. I just thought the whole thing was great. This is the best kind of live TV, in my opinion. Whereas last week with whatever week ago it was
the worst.
Bob Hope, it was maybe a bit too much going crazy and off the rails. This was just the perfect amount of off the rails live spontaneity. The first time the guy goes in there and it's like he's been there a million times. They must jam every week, and he opens up the thing and it's a vending machine. That surprised me, and I thought it was hilarious. And the fact that they return to it and they're all these different crazy places, like you said, Zach, it's sort of a marvel of set design that they were able to do it. But I also thought it was delightful every time, and I loved the episode. And I don't care what you think about it.
No, I totally understand where you're coming from. And like, I will say that the Kirk Douglas, my favorite element of this episode, despite my overall thoughts, I love that Kirk Douglas is portrayed as this inept musician amid the multitude of things he can do, and it's just like he's being treated as this simplest like musician.
Knows one song. Yeah,
I've learned it's like Harpo on the piano versus Chico on the piano.
One thing I think we need to realize as a group sometimes is we are so into Jack and have heard everything he's ever done, have watched everything he's ever been in, all of that we become a little it becomes more difficult to please us. Whereas I think the standard audience may watch this and go, wow, this is great. But go ahead.
Well, let me say one more thing. I don't feel like there's a fight in egos either, as much as Fred MacMurray is sort of playing that. You've got the one dancer who's like dancing and he sort of gets a moment to shine when they're in that line, which I thought was quite funny. And they really work together in their timing and everything. I thought it was hilarious when Jack Benny counts them in. That wrong. That was such a funny gag. And there's one more thing I was going to mention if I can remember. Oh, but the highlight of the whole episode to me is the Don Wilson part where Don Wilson is grumpy and they go into that jump rope bit. Oh, I love Don Wilson, and that is a perfect use of him also. All right, go ahead.
Okay, well, you all are absolutely right, and indeed, I totally agree with everything in all sides, and especially Daryl when you say that we get jaded because we love Jack. But this is really an example of how different we are today from 1954, 69 years ago, because Variety thought this was the best thing that Jack Benny had ever done.
Yeah.
And in reading the review, we'll see why. To take us back to the fall of 1954, TVs are still small, and most major stars, movie stars and singing stars, they have refused to appear on it. Jack is already getting very famous for the first appearance of Humphrey Bogart on television and the first appearance of Marilyn Monroe. And so the fact that you've got these 6 stars who are at that point extremely big in other medium, movies and recordings and, live shows, was a big, made a huge difference to the Variety reviewer. At the risk of pedantry, I want to read you this, and so to understand how different the life was back in 1954. They write, any video show with 6 top names is well qualified to call itself a spectacular. And when Jack Benny tagged off last night's bi-weekly show with this appellation, it may well have been a gag to him, but to millions around the sets, it must have been accepted at face value. In its own chosen field of comedy, it was spectacular in its conception and effect, a rousing half hour that will challenge his best to come in the months ahead. The device for integrating the offbeat talent of the marquee crowd was absurdly ingenious, that of having each play an instrument in a jam session at Benny's home. Tony Martin was on clarinet, Fred MacMurray sax, Dick Powell trumpet, Dan Dailey drums, Kirk Douglas banjo, and the guest conductor, because it was at his house, was the fiddler from Waukegan. The Dixieland cacophony was continually interrupted by the interpolations of Douglas, who knew only Bye Bye Blues. The rest played Basin Street Blues, but Douglas finally won out and had him going bye-bye by the finale. This was the year's high comedy spot on TV, and the byplay between Benny and the bandmen was as lively as the jamming. Said Benny afterward, if you think we played bad, what about Stanford? For a wrap-up, he held a $5 bill over the head of each, which, with audience applause to determine the winner, Benny pocketed the fin. The writers gave Benny Rochester and the guests plenty else to keep the howls heaping high. Benny's opening monologue bristled with sharp-witted comment on what the critics had to say about his first show, and those who came to his home found slot machines concealed for Coke, apples, peanuts, cigarettes, and weighing. Don Wilson still pouted, but finally agreed to do Mr. B's Lucky commercial while skipping rope. So, it's interesting, as I said, to have to put ourselves back in that world where TV is this little thing, and these are big name stars, and that they're appreciating the noise and just the live appearance of big name people who wouldn't otherwise be on TV.
Well, and I didn't realize John was writing articles back then, but apparently that was... All right, you win, John. It sounds like your assessment of this ties right in with what that person thought.
John, and like you made a good point, John, though. Like you said, like something about it being live. Like I think it probably plays off better live than it does on TV, because I'm thinking about it and I was like, oh yeah, some of the other shows I might not like, it wouldn't be as fun live, but that show, watching it live would have been different. It would have been fun.
The energy would have been more there.
It doesn't bother me when people disagree, but I'm glad I won you guys all over. I wonder if we have, Kathy, if you read any of the reviews from the first week's show.
The first week's show wasn't even covered. I looked at the New York Times to say, oh, could I find the review that Jack put away? They didn't even mention it. But Jack Gould gives Benny high praise for this episode. Because Fred Allen had been on Omnibus the week before, only an hour or so after the aforementioned Mr. Allen had sounded his gloomy tocsin for the future of all comedians in broadcasting, his old sidekick, Jack Benny, came along to disprove the treadmill theory of oblivion. Jack's second TV show of the season over CBS was hilarious nonsense, one of the funniest he's ever done. Jack, who has had the eminent good sense not to be a slave of format, presented a jam session, and what a jive crew he rounded up. The boys attacked Basin Street at least, but all but one did Mr. Douglas. All but one did. Mr. Douglas only knew Bye Bye Blues, so he played that. For ear-splitting cacophony, the ensemble will delivered.
That's the word of the day.
It was sublimely and uproariously bad. Most especially Jack's flat violin. Leading to the jive concert, however, was some superb byplay, especially the twist on Jack's stinginess. All his guests just automatically went to the proper panel doors and cabineted furniture to use the coin machines that dispense cigarettes, soft drinks, and candy. The dialogue, capitalizing on the supposed vanity of the stars, so the vanity of all the other performers, was singularly amusing and imaginative. The payoff, of course, was that all the celebrities were regular guys having a wonderful time and thoroughly enjoying themselves. The fun was completely infectious. As usual, it was once again was Mr. Benny's matchless sense of timing that was the glue that held all the pieces together. In that respect, he is as uncanny as ever. No one can come near his casualness and priceless slow take. And that casualness seldom was put to better advantage than when he stepped before the curtain after the hectic swing session. So much for our spectacular, said Jack. So again, just that's why I find some of these reviews interesting, to see what they picked up on at the time.
Oh, no doubt.
And making John right. So
that part's not so hot. But well, I think I love to hear the reviews of the time, and I love that you share those with us. But like John said, any of these missing episodes where we have a gap, and you've noticed if you find a review of the missing episode, we'd love to hear that. Because we don't have the episode, so maybe we can at least hear a review of the episode, which would be kind of interesting. And I love to hear critics love Jack and realize what makes Jack so great, because so often they seem to miss the point, or they focus on something that's like a small part of the episode, and it's like, what about the rest of the episode? It was really good. And so, because you're always going to be able to nitpick things on these, well, heck, we do it all the time. There's tons to nitpick on these episodes, but there's tons to enjoy too, and we need to we do that. And that's why I like having John here, because so often when we're kind of picking apart an episode, John will come in it with a fresh perspective and be like, no, I loved it because of this, that, and the next thing. So thank you, John.
Yeah.
You can keep coming back, John. So and I hope you keep joining us everyone whenever you can, because it's delightful to get your impression of the episodes too, and to chat about it. And Zach, well, I guess it's okay having you here as well. So Zach,
I'm the new cool kid. Sorry, Zach.
That's right. Yeah, Zach's old hat. And anyway,
this is my grandfather's hat.
That's right.
Technically older than me, so.
Well, I think we'll let people go there unless anybody has anything else to point out about the episode. I guess one thing I do want to say is the other piece that Kathy underscored a little bit that we hadn't mentioned too much is what it would be like back at the time to get an episode like this. Because like you say, there were not a lot of big stars appearing, at least film stars and things, appearing on television. So this wasn't like, it was like the Marilyn Monroe get, yes, but this was like a double get. Two of the biggest stars in film, especially Kirk Douglas, right at his like peak of his career, to get those two on the show. I mean,
making a fool of himself, you know.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I have a question. Did they ever do the Kane Mutiny?
Oh
no, I don't think so.
If they did, it's one of the missing episodes. I think
if it was a real teaser, if it was a joke.
Yeah, I was like, is this real or is it?
Like Leo DeRocher was the manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers,
right?
I think it was a joke.
Yeah, no, I think so, because Kane Mutiny it's a great question. It was a big deal right then, but because Leo DeRocher for Fred Allen would do they would have Leo DeRocher do Gilbert and Sullivan. So so I think it's an inside joke.
I assume it was about DeRocher and the fact that folks were turning on DeRocher or something to some extent,
I think so.
Like the Kane Mutiny situation.
The Kane Mutiny came out in 1954, and this episode is 1954, right?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And Fred MacMurray is in it as Fred MacMurray.
Yeah. Okay. Well, interesting stuff for sure. So anyway, guys, have a great week, and we'll see you folks next week for another Jack Benny episode. We love doing this, and love John's perspective whenever we're all getting a little too dour, he comes in and cheers things up and changes things around. Thank you so much. And we'll see you folks next time. Bye, everybody.
From Television City in Hollywood, the Jack Benny Program, with his special guests Dan Dailey, Kirk Douglas, Fred MacMurray, Tony Martin, and Dick Powell, presented by Lucky Strike.
This is glamorous movie star Rita Gam.
You know what I'm doing? I'm studying my chess. It's an interesting thing about chess. One move can mean the whole game. That's why I'm so careful with every move I make. I like to sit and smoke and really think it through. The cigarette, by the way, is Lucky Strike. I like its clean taste, nice aroma. It's my cigarette every time.
Rita Gam's reason for smoking Lucky Strike is the same one that many millions of other smokers give. They like the taste of a Lucky. And here's why a Lucky tastes better. It's right here on the pack. It's toasted. That's the famous Lucky Strike process that brings Lucky's fine tobacco to its peak of flavor. The process that tones up this mild, naturally good-tasting tobacco to make it taste even better. Well, that's our story, pure and simple. A Lucky tastes better because it's the cigarette of fine tobacco. And it's toasted to taste better. Cleaner, fresher, smoother.
So to get better taste from your cigarette, Lucky Strike is the brand to get. It's toasted to give you the best taste yet. It's the toasted cigarette.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Lucky Strike program. As you probably know, this is my second TV show of the season. And those of you who saw my first show 2 weeks ago will probably notice that, that tonight I'm a little more at ease. You see, it's working up to a first show that makes you so nervous. The anxiety, you worry about what the critics will say. I mean, what they'll write about me and everything. Well, anyway, it's over, and now I'm relaxed, you see. The reviews came in, I read them, I burned them, now let's forget them. Although I must say that I did get some very exceptionally good reviews on my first show. As a matter of fact, I saved some of them to read to you here from different towns that excuse me just a moment. These are contact lenses, you see. You keep the paper right up here. Probably the silliest thing I'll say today. But these reviews, here's one that I got from the Bi-Weekly Chronicle from Storm Center, Iowa. It says, on Jack Benny's first television show, once again, this master showman romped his way into the hearts of millions with his hilarious performance. Well, it's kind of nice, I think. And here's one from the Daily Bugle from U-Turn, Nebraska. It says, Jack Benny's first television show that has long been awaited by the citizens of U-Turn was welcomed with hearty laughs and much merriment. Here's one from the New York Times. Now, here's one. Here's one from Whistler's Bend, Montana. It says, Jack Benny, through the medium of television, came a rompin' and a stompin' into Whistler's Bend with a rootin' tootin' half hour of rip-roaring entertainment. Yahoo! Yahoo must be the name of the editor or something. Oh, here's one from the Chicago Herald American. I'm not one. You see, I never like to influence critics. But I must say that 23 years ago, when I first went on radio, I was so anxious to get a good review in the papers that I sent each critic $1. And after my first show, they were all very nice to me. They not only returned the $1, see, but they send me bread and canned goods. I thought it was nice. But now tonight, getting back to my show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as much as I enjoy doing this show, I am anxious to get home because tonight at my house I'm having what we call a jam session. See, we have a lot of fellows who live in my neighborhood, and we all play different instruments, you see, and we meet once a week. And tonight we're meeting at my house again, you see, and I'm the leader of the orchestra. And, of course, when I was a kid, I didn't know really, for my musical career, I didn't know which instrument to take up. So in order to help my father, you see, I took up the violin, because at that time my father had a combination tailor shop and gypsy tea room. I used to play and make a little money for him, you see, in between. But anyway, getting on with it. Oh, Don Wilson, will you come out here, please? Don, did you rehearse, go through the number that we prepared for the commercial, the one that I was talking about this morning?
Jack, I've been thinking it over, and I feel the same way about it I did this morning. I don't want to do it.
What did you say, Don?
I certainly don't want to do it your way. I won't do it.
Look, Don, wait a minute, Don. You see, you have a contract with me, and you're supposed to do the commercial any way that I want you to do it.
Oh, but Jack, the whole thing is so ridiculous and embarrassing.
Don, believe me, will you listen to me? I've been in show business many, many years. And I know that a commercial must be unique and different and entertaining. Now, you go and get the props.
Oh, well.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mind a man being stubborn. But when he's fat and stubborn, I mean, that's too much. I mean, I've had more trouble with Don over commercials. I've never seen anything like it. This fellow will not...
Jack, all right. Let's do it and get it over with.
Don, it's a commercial.
Yeah.
All right.
If you want better taste from your cigarette, Lucky Strike is the one.
Hold it. Take it again. No, take it again. Go through.
If you want better taste from your cigarette,
I think this is entertaining.
Lucky Strike is the one to get.
Keep going.
It's the one.
Take it over again. No, go. You go through. Now, Don, come back here. Now, look at it. Really, it wasn't bad. The audience loved it out there. You know?
Well, I guess it was all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don, you were wonderful. I don't know. How do you know? Maybe tonight a star is born. With you, it could be the Big Dipper.
Mr. Benny.
You know, I mean, you don't have...
Oh, Mr. Benny, you're wanting on the phone.
Here?
Yes.
Excuse me a minute.
Yeah, run along,
You can
Jack.
take it right here, Mr. Benny.
In the studio.
There you are.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Benny, this is Rochester.
Rochester, I'm right in the middle of a monologue of my show. What did you call me for?
Well, I was thinking about your friends who are coming over for your jam session, and I was wondering what you want me to serve.
Well, I don't know. What have we got in the icebox?
Well, there's 2 turkeys, 3 hams, a 12-pound prime rib, and 10 pounds of imported caviar.
Rochester, all that wonderful food in our icebox?
Boss, we're on a party line. Let's impress them.
Oh, look, Rochester, prepare anything you want to. I'll be home at 8 o'clock.
Okay, goodbye. Oh, the boss sure gets excited about those jam sessions. Well, he said he'd be home at 8 o'clock. Yep, that's what he said, 8 o'clock.
Here I am, Rochester. Did any of the gang get here yet?
Oh, don't worry, boss. They'll be here. I'm just straightening up, fixing the music
All right,
stand.
fix up all the music stands and the music. I want to tune up a little bit.
I'll fix some sandwiches.
Okay. Rochester, what are you doing?
I'm setting the clock back to 5:40. Didn't have a headache then.
Listen, will you cut that out? Hey, that must be one of the guys coming. Gee, I love these jam sessions. Hey there, you with the smog in your eye. Hi, Tony! Tony Martin, how are you?
Hi, Phil, man.
Got the old instrument out.
Oh, yeah, Jack.
I got the music and everything, all the new arrangements. and
Oh,
everything.
wonderful, Jack. I'm so happy. You know, I wait all week for these jam sessions. I can't wait. I've been practicing like mad. Mad!
Yeah, Buck. Me
Yeah,
too.
good.
Tony, what kind of a clarinet is that?
I don't know, Jack. Must be a good one. I was offered about $150 for it.
Only $150. I was offered $3,000 for my violin.
Now, wait a minute, Jack. Who'd ever offer you $3,000 for your violin?
Everybody in the neighborhood chipped in.
mean to tell me, Jack, when you play, everybody in Beverly Hills can hear you?
Some of the money came in from Anaheim, Azusa, and
Rochester, will you do me a favor and go get the sandwiches?
Yes.
Please.
Boy, boy, oh boy, I need a new read. And I feel awful dry, Jack, real dry. Tell me, how's Mary?
Oh, she's fine.
Haven't seen her for a long time.
You know, Tony, Mary's going to be on my show pretty soon.
Yeah,
you know?
that's good. That'll be just great.
Here comes somebody else.
Yeah.
I guess the gang are coming. Hey there. You with it? Hey, Fred! Oh, wait. Grab your phone.
Hi, Fred. How's the wife?
Say, Fred. Listen, Fred. I got a wonderful new arrangement for our number that we're going to do tonight.
Well, I hope
for
so.
practicing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a great part for the saxophone.
Oh, good. I hope so. I didn't think I was going to get here on time, Jack. I was over at the studio and somebody sent a script at the last minute. I had to read it. Not much good. I don't think I'll do it.
What was the name of it?
The horn blows at noon.
The horn blows at noon?
Yes, the Warner Brothers wanted to see what it looks like in the daytime.
Very funny, very funny.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Fred, you looking good.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to get lunch.
Here, I got your part here for you. Just go over this part and see if it's all right, will you? Huh?
Good to see you, Tony.
Anybody home?
Hey, Dick!
Say, am I late, huh?
No, there are only three. There'll be a couple more.
I'm sorry. I'd have been here a little sooner. I had a little accident.
Did you get hurt?
No, I got out of the car just in time. Just in time.
Why, what happened?
My Jaguar chased an MG up a tree.
Everybody has to come in with jokes.
Jack.
What?
Your piano's out of tune.
Here's this.
Is that my part?
That's your part.
Well,
here.
don't rush me. Don't rush me. I'm a little tired. Been shooting all day. I want to relax a little bit.
On this saxophone. Hey, somebody else is coming.
Hi, Jack. How are
Hey,
you?
Dan! Well, almost everybody's here now. Okay.
Hey, Jack.
What?
Jack, I've been looking over this arrangement, this new one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any part in it for me. I mean, this da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What kind
Well,
of a part
Fred,
is
look,
that?
no, that's background music when Tony Martin takes his solo.
Tony has the solo?
I can handle it.
That's beside the point.
What?
The point is, Jack, last week you told me you were going to make a new arrangement and I would have the solo.
Well, Fred, it just didn't work out that way.
I see.
Fred, what are you doing?
I'm going home. I'm a movie star and I'm not going to be humiliated like this.
Fred, Tony, you talk to him, will you, please?
Now listen, Fred, I know how you feel. You can have the 12-bar solo, but please put your horn together and join us. Come on.
Well, all right.
I think we ought to play the arrangement just the way it's written.
Look, Tony and I can handle this ourselves.
Yeah, we don't need a dancer to tell us what to do, you know.
Thanks, Tony. You're a peach.
Why, certainly, let's play something. For heaven's sake. Let's play anything.
Jack, I got a yellow one. I get a prize.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. tell you, we're all here. I'll tell you who else is coming. I know it must be them. It's from my radio orchestra. Bagby and Remley and Don Rice and the whole thing. Come on in, fellas. I know who it is. Come in. Hi, Bagby. Hi, boys. Hey, Bag. Right in. Hey, wait a minute. Where's Frank Remley?
Oh, he couldn't make it, Jack. You see, he lives in Hollywood and you live in Beverly Hills.
Well, what's that got to do with it?
Well, he can't leave Hollywood without getting permission from his parole board.
Well, what are we going to do?
Oh, don't worry, Jack. I called up another
You missed the word parole at every rehearsal.
Don't you worry.
Well, who's going to play banjo? You got somebody?
I called up another
Well, thanks.
banjo
I'm
player.
glad to play. Go on, play. Let's play. Oh, wait, that must be the banjo player. That must be the banjo player. Hey, Kirk! Hey, Kirk, look. Hi. When you came to my house to play bridge last week, you didn't tell me that you played banjo.
Well, nobody asked me, man. Nobody asked me.
Oh.
Hey, Kirk, what do you got hanging on your back there?
What's that?
What's this?
Oh, you know, on the way down here, some crazy jaguar chased my MG up a tree.
Well, what did you want me to do? Shoot it?
I thought you made up a joke.
I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You look a little heavy, like you put on some weight.
No, I'm the same. My weight hasn't changed. It's always 180.
Gee, I don't believe it. You look like you weigh a lot more than that.
Well, I don't think so. I'll find out here. 184 with banjo.
What's it say on the other side?
The other side? Bowling in the basement.
We'll all go down that
Later,
Sandwiches. We got. What kind of sandwiches are they?
Peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly? What happened to the hams, the turkeys, and the imported caviar?
What?
I'm on your party line.
Oh, well, what's the difference? We'll eat later. Hey, Kirk. Now, look, Kirk, come here. I got the part for you right here. Here's your music for what we're going to play.
Music? You know, I don't read music. All I can play is Bye Bye Blues.
Well, look, we're not going to play Bye Bye Blues. We're going to play Basin Street.
I don't know Basin Street. I tell you, the only thing I know is Bye Bye Blues.
Well, we're going to play Basin Street, then fake it.
All right.
Jam session.
Just play.
I gotta get out of here.
Now, wait a minute. Give me a head. All right, I'm the leader. Now, wait. All right? Ready? 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is my house.
Those are my drums.
Choose horn. Let's play. Heaven's sake, now play what we got written, will you?
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
a message from our sponsor.
If you want better taste from your cigarette, Lucky Strike is the brand to get. It's toasted to give you the best taste yet. It's the toasted cigarette. They take fine tobacco, it's light tobacco, it's mild tobacco too. And it's toasted, yes, it's toasted, because the toasting brings the flavor right through. So to get better taste from your cigarette, Lucky Strike is the brand to get. It's toasted to give you the best taste yet. It's the toasted cigarette.
Friends, no wonder Lucky's taste better. They're made of fine tobacco, and the famous Lucky Strike process, it's toasted, tones up Lucky's fine tobacco to make it taste even better. Cleaner, fresher, smoother. So, be happy. Go Lucky.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you think we played badly, how about Stanford yesterday? Of course, I must say, you know, it was a shame that I had to pull the curtain down, you know, right in the middle of our number, but I had to do it before the commercial because I told all those guys this was a benefit. What do you think about it? But really, it was so nice of these fellas, here are 5 big stars, to come over here and really give their services. They came over here on my show just because they enjoyed doing it and had a lot of fun. So I'd like to bring them back again to take a bow over here. Come on, boys. I would like to pay you all a compliment. You are the lousiest musician in my life. But, you know, I do think, in all fairness, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that they did come here for nothing, to work for nothing, I do think that somebody... Yes, Fred, didn't you know about that?
They didn't tell me that.
Oh, well. I'm telling you now. The only thing, I do think it would be fair if just, you know, if somebody went back with something. Now, I want you to forget that these are all big stars, you see. I want you to just consider them musicians, amateur musicians. Now, I'll hold some money. I will hold a $5 bill over each one's head. And the one who gets the most applause is the one who gets the most applause will go home with the money. So much for our spectacular. Every show has a spectacular, so I thought I'd put one on tonight. And incidentally, in about... have we got time to say something? Just a second, because I just wanted to announce that either in 2 weeks from now or in 4 weeks, we're doing our version of Cane Mutiny. And our guest star is going to be Leo DeRocha. Well, anyway, I will be back in 2 weeks, And be sure to listen to Watch and Southern next Sunday. Thank you.
Remember, 1 week from tonight on this same station, Ann Southern returns in Private Secretary. Jack Benny's next television show will be in 2 weeks. In the meantime, be sure to listen to Jack Benny on radio every Sunday night over the CBS Radio Network. The Jack Benny program has been brought to you by Lucky Strike, product of the American Tobacco Company, America's leading manufacturer of cigarettes. This is Don Wilson saying, be happy, go lucky.